Today what we're going to do, we did this a couple days ago where we made kind of like a little fake API for ourselves. This time around we're going to make an API that actually has some data behind it. So we'll be connecting our MongoDB to our actual Express application. So the first thing I want to do is actually create my application. Just come in here, I'm going to make a directory called Mongoose demo. And then I will open that up in code. Oh. Okay, now that I've got my my Mongoose demo open here, I'm going to open up my terminal. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Npm project. You guys remember how to do that? So we're not doing a React app right now though. Wow, what the heck is going on here? Sometimes when I try to zoom in, it's just, hey, that wasn't Manny. All right, okay. Sometimes when I zoom in, my terminal goes bananas. So what I'm trying to do is init, right? That means we're going to start our project, and then I'm going to add this flag -y, which is just going to accept all of the defaults. Okay. There's a new version of NPM available, so I can install that. I'll do that another time. So now we've got our package.json, right? And then here, oops, I gotta make this smaller. Jeez. Okay, so inside here we've got no dependencies right now. I'm gonna install a couple dependencies. We know we're gonna want Express, right? The other dependency we're going to want is this Mongoose dependency. This is the one that we're demoing today. So I can install both of those in one shot by just separating them with a space. Like that. Bless you.
Oh shit, I missed the typing of Mongoose. How did you install?
So I just said npm install express and then space mongoose. All right, cool. The other thing that we did the other day was we created this server file, server.js. I'll create that one again. And then inside here, what we want to have going is we want to require Express. This is so that we can use it. Oops. Does anyone know where it's looking for Express? So when this code runs, where's it going to find Express?
Oh, packages.json.
No, that's a pretty good guess, but no.
Okay.
It's going to look inside that node modules folder. Yeah, exactly. So if we were to look inside here, we would see that there is, in fact, an Express folder right here. And if we look at Express's package.json, there's probably a main in here. Oh, there's no main? Okay. So what that means, since they didn't put a main inside their package.json, that means that it's going to run this file right here, this index.js. By default, that's where it's looking. Okay, so let me close that out. Now that we've got Express, we need to create our app as well, right? So we could say const app equals the result of invoking the Express function. Okay, and then the thing that we needed to do down at the bottom, anyone remember? Listen, right? We need to listen on a specific port. And I'll just pick 4500. Oops. What happens? Get out of there. Oh, jeez, not this again. There's some weird glitches with VS Code from time to time. Like you just can't, I can't even type in there. Switch. Let me try this one more time. Okay, good. All right, so now we're listening. The other thing that we want to do is we want to create some routes, right? Okay, but before we even get there, let's introduce Mongoose. So what Mongoose is going to do is it's going to act as the middleman between us, between our application here, and MongoDB. And it will also allow us to apply some structure to our data. Okay? So in order for us to use that, we need to require that as well.
have a question about implicit and passing import.
Okay.
Because that makes sense from a local host perspective, but when you're trying to access something outside with the entire whatever it's called DNS thing, people just passing it in like Google.com. How does it know like what port to actually hit when you're just passing?
Because they're probably using some sort of a web server, whether it be Nginx or something else like that, which would take requests that come in and it will route it to the appropriate port on that server. Okay. So now that we've got this Mongoose here, the other thing that I want to do is I want to actually connect to my MongoDB. Okay. So the way that we can do that is we can say, I'll just do it up here, mongoose.connect. Okay, and then this connection string here should look something like this: MongoDB/localhost, because we're using the MongoDB on our actual computer. And then you're going to go / whatever the name of the database that you want. So we're just going to call this Mongoose demo. Let me make sure I don't already have that. So if I go into my Mongo terminal here, show DBs, good, I don't have that. Okay, so we're going to use this database called Mongoose demo. Obviously it's not there yet. What's going to happen once we insert some data? Then it will create it, yeah. So the other thing that we want to pass to the Mongoose connect function is some options. Okay, the options I'm going to say are use new URL parser. True. Whoops. Why do I have an object within an object here?
So another question on the initial argument we're passing to connect.
Yeah.
Are you fixing the connection string with the MongoDB code?
Because that's telling it basically where to look for our database. It's saying that this is going to be MongoDB that it's on our own machine. Now, a couple other options you guys are probably going to add, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to clear some deprecation warnings. Actually, let's just see the deprecation warnings so you can see why I'm even doing this. Okay, so we're going to run this with NodeMon so that it will refresh every time we make a change. Okay, notice how we're getting some deprecation warnings here. So it's saying use unified topology, set that to true in here. So if I set that to true here, that should go away. No more deprecation warnings. That's nice.
Node Nodemon, the Npm Nodemon start? Or what was it?
No, it's just NodeMon and then server.js.
Okay, Nodemon.
Yeah, and you'd have to make sure that you have NodeMon installed globally on your machine.
Okay.
All right, so that's how we connect to our MongoDB. The other thing that we're going to want to have here is we're going to want to have what's called a schema. All right, this is not to be confused with the database itself. What the schema is it's going to allow us to make sure our data is structured a certain way. All right, so I'm going to create a schema, and we'll call it a city schema because we're going to do cities. And this is going to be equal to a new mongoose.schema. Okay? And when we create a new schema, we get to set exactly which fields we want to have inside of our documents. So if I wanted my city to have a name, which would make sense, I can do like this. And then I can specify what type of thing I want that to be. So I can say I want the type to be a string. And I can also specify that I want this to be required. So every city's got to have a name, right? Yeah, you could either do true, or I'm going to show you something slightly different. Pass in an array. The first will say true, which means that it is required. The second thing that I'm going to pass in here is just going to be a string, if someone does not actually provide a name. So please provide a name. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of duplicate this down because we want some other stuff in here too. The second thing we're going to say is just the population, right? And we'll change this to a number. Population. Okay, and then finally we'll just have like an image of the actual city. Please provide an image. Okay. Now we're not going to do any actual uploading of files here. I'm just going to say the string will be the URL. In fact, let's just change it to like image URL.
Can you have capitals in these attributes, or is it not compatible?
Yeah, we can. We could do it in camel case if we want image URL. Okay. The other thing that I want to do inside here is, as a second argument when we're creating a new Mongoose schema, I can specify some options. Okay? And inside here, I'm going to say I want some timestamps. Okay, so what that's going to give us, you guys might remember from our MySQL stuff in the past, we wanted to add a created at and updated at field to our records, just to see when was this thing first inserted and then when was the last time it was updated, right? Mongoose is going to do that for us, so we don't have to do any work to get our timestamps. Okay. The other thing that I need to do now that I've created this schema, and let me close that out there, is that we need to register this schema with Mongoose. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const city equals mongoose.model. The name of our Mongoose model is going to be called city. And then what I'm going to pass in is going to be that city schema that I just created. Okay? So those two steps, every time we're creating some new thing that we're trying to store in our database, we want to create the schema, and then we also want to register that schema with Mongoose into an actual model.
Is the definition of the schema like only limited to the attributes or properties, or is there some enforcement of like referential values?
Referential, I didn't catch that.
Oh, like in SQL, you can have like you can establish like things like that, so enforce hierarchy.
Ah, okay. So here we don't have that concept of actually connecting different collections. So in this case, if you were trying to establish some sort of a hierarchy, you could put nested schemas inside here.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So now that I've got a reference to this model here, the city model, I can actually do things with it. So I should be able to create a new city. I can also find my cities. I can update one and so forth. So down here, let's start to create some routes. So if I want to create a city, what might I want the route for that to be?
What's the name of the city?
But that wouldn't be the route though, right? Because it's like I don't know what a person's going to insert into my database.
API.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do API/cities, and it will be listening for post requests, right? So if a person sends a request to that route, then I'm going to want to create a new city.
But do you have to set the URL encoding line?
Yeah, we'll get there, but actually we're going to be working with JSON, right? Okay. So when we establish these routes, do you guys remember what the second argument needs to be? So I said what the path was. What's the second argument there?
The name of the
Okay, I heard function, and that's good. This needs to be a callback function, right? And that callback function needs to take in the request and the response. Oops. We'll just say rec and res. Okay, so what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to console log rec.body. Okay, so we're already listening on port 4500. I should be able to send a request and see something happening here in my terminal, right? So let's go to Postman and change this. Localhost 4500/API/cities. Change that to post. And I think we were sending something through already, so that's cool. Send that again. Uh-oh. Our route didn't actually return anything, right? So that's all right. But what happened here? It said undefined. My rec.body was undefined. Does anyone remember why that's happening? Juan, you were asking about URL encoded, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was we forgot to use this express middleware. So after we create our app, let's say app.use, and then I'm going to say express.json. And then down here, instead of just console logging rec.body, let's actually return something. So we'll say res.json, hello world. Okay, go back to Postman. Let's send it one more time. Okay, so now we got back hello world, and now we actually see what was inside our actual request body. Okay. It wasn't actually an error. It's just I was logging out the request body, and it was undefined.
Oh, okay.
Right? I didn't actually have access to it yet.
So res.json.
No, res.json didn't log it out. It sent back the request to our client. So that's what we got. All right, but I don't just want to do this, right? I actually want to create a new city. So here's how we can do it.
So console.log actually gives it the actual request instead of going to the file.
Right, yeah, this time we're actually seeing something because we added that app.use express.json up above.
Okay, so
Whereas before, the request body was undefined.
what line was it? Okay, so I see it. It's an app.use.
Yeah, line 36.
Oh, okay.
But what's the difference?
Right, you establish the middleware, so every single.
Yeah, so that
request
every request that hits anything after where we establish the middleware will all use that express.json method.
Right. But what's the difference between the express.json and the express URL encoding?
The difference is that when you do URL encoded, that's for when we're actually receiving forms from like an HTML form. It's encoded differently versus this where we're sending JSON data. So we need to use JSON. All right, so I don't want to just log out the body. I actually want to create a city, right? So let's try to do that. Let me get rid of this here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say city.create. Okay. And then I'm going to pass in my request body because that has all the data that the person just sent. And what do you guys think that's going to return?
Will actually return the created object itself.
Something that we talked about end of last week. Remember that end of last week? Yeah, it's all just a blur now. Dun dun dun! It's going to return a promise. All right. So it's basically saying, once this is done, if we successfully insert the city, then things are good, right? And then we could attach something to using our .then. If something goes wrong, we may also want to have something in our .catch. So let's do that. .then, I'm going to pass in res.json. What does that mean? Why didn't I invoke that? It's a callback function, right? All right.
Alright, to respond.
Now, just note that if I do this, it's the same thing as me saying, so we're going to get back a city if everything goes right, right? And then I can call res.json against the city. I'll do it like that initially, just so that you guys can see what's happening here. Here, inside our .catch, we're going to get back some error, right? And maybe I'll just res.json, that same thing.
If it's not created, it's usually because they didn't input some of the variables in the schema, right?
Yeah, typically it would be something like that.
So is there a place to input the messages which are the strings?
We're gonna see them actually. When we send the error back to the client, we'll see what they look like.
Okay.
All right. So now that we've got that all ready to go, let's try to send this request again. We know we're already not sending a field that we need, right?
So, just a quick question though. So
Yeah.
does the res.json go to the express JSON as well? Or is that the app.use express only for us?
No, we could still send back JSON even if we weren't using express.json up here. This is strictly for incoming requests. But we could still send it out if we wanted to. Yeah. All right. So we know that we're missing a field, right? Which is which one?
The field for creation? Oh, yes.
Line 24, right? We don't have an image URL here in our postman request. So let's see what happens. When we send this here, let me go like this.
Where have you added in the population and city? Oh, it's right there.
Yeah, so this is my the body that I'm sending out with my request. And you could see here we're getting an errors object here. Okay? And that is the actual message that we put in there, right? So it's telling us down here, city validation failed, so something went wrong. We would be able to then kind of map through these errors if we're doing this on a front-end application.
To specifically display.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we won't be doing that today, but this is just to kind of show you guys the validation process. All right. So that didn't work. Let's get a picture of San Francisco, right? Wikipedia. San Fran. Okay, I've got this little picture here. Copy image address. Okay, and then let's put that inside our postman. So we'll say image URL. It's going to be this string. All right, let's try it one more time. Wow, look at this. We actually got a returned document. Okay, so in our returned document, we've got one of those lovely MongoDB IDs. We've got the name. Oh no! Do we have like a Google thing that's listening to us?
That's iPhone.
Siri.
That's Siri.
Oh, Siri. Sorry.
Google smart enough not to.
Siri's listening to us. Watch it. Watch what you say. So we got our population. We've got our image URL, and then look at this. We've got our timestamps. Ooh, nice. And then we've got this little this double underscore V, which is like a version number. Okay. And that's just something that that Mongoose is essentially keeping track of. Okay. All right, so that's pretty nice. The other thing that I want to do now that I've been able to create a city is I want to be able to go and get all of my cities, right? So let's create a route for that. We'll say app.get API/cities. Do I really care about my request at this point? So I can underscore in front of it just to tell VS Code I'm not really using this. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to call city again .find. So I want to get all my cities. I don't need to actually pass anything there, right?
Right.
Dot then promises, yeah, they're everywhere. So this is why we were talking about them before. So theoretically, what we're going to get back is going to be an array of cities. Okay, so I'll do the same thing, res.json cities.catch res.json error. Now at this point, we probably won't be getting any kind of an error, right? Unless we had some sort of a connection problem with our database. So we could probably rest assured that we're going to get back all our cities. So that's fine. If I put it there, that would cause a syntax error. Because then what's going to happen?
Oh,
My
it's
dot
changing.
catch can no longer chain off.
I see.
Yeah. All right, so let's make a GET request to this home route, or root route, I should say. Okay, now we see that we're getting back an array of cities, right, which has one thing inside of it.
So basically, you can use the same route for both get and post request.
Yeah, because what's differentiating that is the actual request method. So let's add in Burbank. I think we decided it was 100,000, right? Burbank. As you guys can see, I really love Burbank. Here we go. In 2010, it was 103,000. So copy image address. Drop this in here. Turn this back to a post request so that we've got more than one in there. All right, now Burbank's in my database too. And if I make that GET request again, I'm seeing both of them. All right, very nice.
And again, the tag is
Yeah, it is indeed.
I have a couple of questions. First, how did it go to update San Francisco to see that a bunch of post requests with the array? Did you go to the
No, I only, well, okay, I sent 2 requests about San Francisco, but the first one was missing a required field. It was missing the image URL. So remember we got, yeah, it didn't add it because we got an error.
So if it were to post the same thing again, it will make a duplicate one, or it will update it?
Yeah, it'll make a duplicate one because we're creating, right? We're not actually updating right now.
My second question is the server.js. How does it work with this city and cities? Like one is this one city, the other one is cities.
So are you asking about the difference between these two things?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So when we create, we're actually expecting to get back one document, right?
Okay.
Versus if we're just doing a find, that means that we're expecting to get back an array of documents.
So you're filling in the name of.
This is just based on how Mongoose works. So if I do a find, it's going to return me back an array.
So if you go like, let's say, for the get request, if you write cookies, you'll still get a city.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, I could call this whatever I wanted.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't want to call it cookies because it'd be like, that makes no sense. But yeah, you could. Right.
You can't call error anything you want, though, right?
I can.
You can.
I could call that E if I wanted.
You can call it what?
I could call it E if I wanted to. Yep.
We call it success.
Yes, that would be quite odd. If I really want to confuse myself, I could do all sorts of confusing things. Yeah.
On your GET request,
Mhm.
you have an underscore request?
Yeah, so all I was doing, I was just telling VS Code, hey, I'm not really even going to use this. Because if I take that out, it'll usually show. See how it's kind of like light? It's kind of showing you haven't even used this variable.
So why did you find it?
Versus if I underscore it, it sort of recognizes that I didn't intend to use it to begin with. That's all. This isn't required. You guys could just stick REQ in there if you want. It doesn't matter.
But I guess when we drop this,
In fact, you could even just put an underscore, and that would work too. Just saying, like, I don't care about this variable here. Poor variable. Yeah.
okay.
It's kind of like a comment. So it's like commenting it out.
Yeah, almost. I mean, it's still. Yeah. I mean, it's still there. I could still use it. I'm just sort of doing that to tell to tell VS Code. I don't intend to do anything with this. Yeah. All right. So what if I wanted to get a single city? Let's do that too. So let's do app.get, and then my route is going to be API/cities, and then this time we're going to concatenate the ID to that, right? Rec res. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a city dot find one, or we'll go find by ID. This will be easier. Okay. So if I'm doing find by ID, all I need to pass to this method is just what is the ID of the city that I'm looking for. So do you guys remember where I'm going to get that from? Because I added it. Oh shoot. I'm sorry?
From the object ID.
So I've got it in my path right here. So where do we get it again?
The callback ID. You can access it.
Yeah. How do I access it?
You do curly braces, ID.
No. I like your spirit though. You're just like, ow. It's gonna be rec.params.id. Remember that params object that had all of my parameters from my route?
Oh.
So that's where we're gonna get it. Rec.params.id. Okay. Then this time I'm just gonna pass in res.json. What's that gonna do, guys?
That returns
It's essentially going to take whatever city I get back from this guy here and then pass it into the res.json function, which will be invoked, right? Okay. .catch, same thing. Just do this, right? All right, now let's try this. So we made a request and we got all of our cities back. Let's say I just want to get Burbank. So I'm going to grab this ID right here and then put it into my URL. Did I do something wrong? Oh, unhandled promise rejection. What happened? Can't read property app of undefined? What?
Don't you need the whole object ID, not just the letters?
What letters are you talking about?
For the ID, don't you need to grab the whole object ID, colon, and then all the characters, not just the characters?
Well, we should. So, like, if I logged out rec.params.id, are you saying that that shouldn't be enough?
No. To go back to Postman, you know how just show the cities again. You know how the ID has ID equals object ID.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
As well.
Right. No, that shouldn't be the issue. Huh. Okay. Where is that error being thrown from? Can't read property app of undefined. All right, let me try to be a little more explicit here. So we'll get back a city, right? Res.json, that's city. Try this one more time. Wow, why was that not working?
Because maybe the dot then requires the full explicit.
Boy, that's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Well, but that's the only thing we're doing.
Why is there any difference between me just passing in that JSON function as a callback and doing this? Nah, I'll figure it out. But for now, we can see that we actually got back the city that we wanted, right? We got back Burbank, so that's all good. Cool. What are the other things that we want to do? We want to be able to delete and update, right? Okay. So let's say we'll set up a delete request here, and then let's just set. Oh, I don't really want to delete Burbank though. That would be mean, right? This is where we are. Let me just delete this and grab my other ID real quick. Let's get rid of San Francisco. Ouch. Or actually, yeah, let's just do this. Drop that in there. I'll turn this into a delete request. And now for us, get rid of this here. We'll just create a new route, app.delete, API/cities/ID, rec res. And then what we want to do is we want to say city.findById and delete. Okay, so now I can just pass in again the same thing, rec.params.id. Then I'm just going to say res.json status success. So this is a Mongoose method. Right? By us creating a Mongoose model called city, we now have access to this. Yes, there is. And that's the one that we're going to use. So if something went wrong, again, I can just send that back.
Is the rejection for this promise also handled if not?
Let's try. Let's enter in a bad ID. It should. So if I want to delete, you what? All right, let me just change a couple things. Yeah, that wasn't exactly what I would have expected to have happen, right? What is the result? So I'll just console log out result. So it's giving us back something, right? Try this one more time. Result was null. All right, let's try to pass in something that we know is right. We're going to get rid of San Francisco, right? Ah, this time it actually gave me back something. It gave me back the original document. So maybe that's one way that you could check to see, like, was that thing actually ever in the database to begin with? So if it returns you out null, apparently that means that it was never there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or what if we dropped in an ID that was just totally fake, just a couple? It did the second time, yeah. Yeah, this time we would actually get an error. So if I put an ID in that looked like that, Mongoose actually knows that there's no way that's actually a regular MongoDB ID. So it just rejected that. That turned into an error. Okay, and then if we go back to our make a GET request again for all of our cities, well, we should see that now we only have, whoops, I tried to get rid of it, darn it. All right, cancel, try this again. There we go. Now we only have Burbank, right? San Francisco's gone. All right. Only other thing that we need to do is we need to be able to update a city, right? Okay, so what kind of request do we want to do for that? Put request, cities, ID, rec res. All right, and then inside here we'll say city dot find by ID and update here. Okay, so the first thing that we want to provide is going to be the ID, which is going to be again rec.params.id. The second thing that we're giving it is the updated document. So how do we want this thing to look like? So I guess I can just pass in the rec.body, right? Okay. A third thing that we can add in here are some options. So we can say we want to run validators on updating. True. The other thing that I can specify is new true, which means when you return a result to me, I want to see what the new updated document looks like. Normally, if you don't pass this option right here, it will just give you back the original document, which I don't find to be particularly useful. Right? It's like I just updated this thing, and then you gave me back the original. Okay. So then then we've got our city again, and I can just pass that back. City. Dot catch error res.json error. All right, so we're good to go. Let's try to update the only city that we've got left, which is Burbank. Let's assume the population has gone up a little bit. So I'll take this ID here, I'll put this up here, turn this to a put request, and then let's change our body a little bit. So let's say population is 110,000. Send that through. Okay. Why didn't it validate that on me? Does anyone know? Why did that not validate? Or it didn't seem to validate? Because I was able to update by only passing in population. Say that one more time? Yeah, exactly. They're already in there. This is a little bit of a gotcha that, I don't know, sometimes surprising.
So the update is on keys rather on properties of the object you're passing rather than
Exactly.
So if you were to write that, if you do a string for the population, you should get here.
So yeah, what if I did name and tried to say the name was blank? There we go. Okay, so if we want to prevent people from making requests like that, we can be a little more explicit inside here, right? So I can say the name is going to be rec.body.name. Population, rec.body.population. Okay, and then image URL, rec.body.image URL.
I guess in Mongoose you cannot just add another key to the object. Schema is locked on, right?
Yeah, you actually probably, you could do that. So this would be a way for us to prevent a user from adding in extra fields that we didn't want. We could be really explicit about what we're even accepting, right?
So what few cases, you're doing a find by update, initial argument is the ID, you're caching an object with
So the second argument here is how do I want this document to look after I update it? What changes am I trying to make?
And
Okay.
you don't have to put the constants attributes over here.
Which constants are you talking about?
I mean, in the main population image URL, you don't have to put the constants.
Right, because it's going to do that for us, right? So when we update it here, oh shoot, I don't have it anymore. So let me save this real quick. Okay, and then instead of explicitly saying name, let's just get rid of this so that we're still trying to update the population. Okay, I just wanted to show that, nice, validations are working now if I made that change in there, right? It's like I didn't even provide a name and I didn't provide an image either, so it's being rejected.
So the validation property set true, that just enforces the schema definition?
Yeah, what run validators true is going to do is it's going to make sure that when I try to update this document, I run the validators again. I don't just assume that, oh, because maybe the document was valid before, I'll just let whatever updates pass through. I still want to run my updates through the validators as well.
It's just weird that it's default false. That's true.
I agree. Okay, so this allowed us, though, to make sure that everything ran, and we got back our newly updated city, right? So this worked, and then if we look back, shoot, now I actually have to. What was my image URL again? Okay. Sorry. Somehow I made a GET request to Wikipedia now. That's not what my intention was. I was just trying to copy the string so that we didn't validate ourselves. Okay, so my image URL will be this. Keep it the same, and then we'll turn this back into a put request, right? And then our updated document here is showing that we updated at 504. Looks about right, right?
And what exactly is a version attribute over there does? I mean,
It's just something that Mongoose is keeping track of internally. It's sort of interesting that that doesn't change after we make modifications, right? There's some rule behind that, and I can't remember what it is. It will only bump this number up under certain conditions, but not just under a regular update.
Is it from property perspective? Does it have any properties like that?
You know what? Yeah, I'll look into that after we're done, because I just don't want to take any time with it. It's not something that you guys are going to have to worry about, the double underscore V. All right. Any questions about our code here, what we did in general? Yes, we do. Okay.
What was the use new URL?
This was just something that we had to set to stop some warnings that we were getting in our terminal. It's just basically a connection option that you're going to pass to Mongoose.
For all of our applications.
Yeah, every time you build one of these, you'll just add that option in there. It'll quiet the warning. That's all. Anything else? We ready for some Pong?
Bing bong.
All right.